to rub off the dust a little. There's the two Miss Hoggs and our neighbor, Mrs. Grigsby. They go to take a month's polishing every winter.
Aye, and they bring back enough vanity and conceit last them the whole year. I wonder why London cannot keep its fools at home. In my time, the follies of the town would slink quietly among us. Now they travel faster than a stagecoach.
Aye, your times were fine times indeed. You've been telling us of them these many long years. Here we live in a rumbling old mansion that looks for all the world like an inn, except we never see company. Our best visitors are old Mrs. Oddfish, the curate's wife, and little Cripplegate, the lame dancing master. Our only entertainment, your old stories of Prince Eugene and the Duke of Marlborough. I hate such old-fashioned trumpery.
And I love it. I love everything that's old. Old friends, old times, old manners, old books, and old wine. And I believe, Dorothy, you will agree that I've been very fond of an old wife.
Lord, Mr. Hardcastle, you're forever on with your Dorothys and your old wives. I am not so old as you make me.
Oh.
Add 20 to 20 and make money of that.
Let me see. 20 added to 20, that makes just 57. Well.
That is false.
Oh.
I was but 20 when I gave birth to Tony, who I had with my first husband, Mr. Lumpkin, and he has not yet come of age.
Nor will he, I dare say, for you have spoiled him.
No matter. Tony Lumpkin has a good fortune. My boy is not to live by his learning. I don't think it takes much education to spend $1,500 a year.
Learning, the only learning the boy has is tricks and mischief.
Humor, my dear, nothing but a little humor. Come, Mr. Hardcastle, you must allow the boy a sense of humor.
Burning the footman's shoes and frightening the maids and worrying the kittens be humor, he has it. Yesterday, he fastened my wig to the back of my chair, so when I went to make a bow, I poked my bald head in Mrs. Frizzle's face.
Am I to blame? Oh, Tony was always too sickly to send to school. School would have been his death. When he's a little stronger, who knows what a year or two of Latin might do for him.
Latin for him, cat and a fiddle. No, the alehouse and the stable is the only school he'll ever go to.
Oh, you must not speak ill of the poor boy, for I fear we shan't have him with us long. Anyone who looks at his face may see he's consumptive.
Aye, if being too boisterous is one of the symptoms.
He coughs sometimes.
Oh, truly. When his liquor goes the wrong way.
I'm actually afraid of his lungs.
Well, so am I. Why, he sometimes whoops like the very devil. There he goes now. Something figure my foot.
Oh, Tony, where are you going, my little charmer? Won't you give Papa and I a little of your company, lovey?
I'm in a hurry, Mother. I cannot stay.
Oh, you should not go out this evening. You are looking most shockingly unwell.
Well, I cannot stay, I tell you. The Three Pigeons expects me down at any moment. There's some fun to be had.
Aye, the alehouse, the old place. I thought so.
A low, paltry bunch of fellows.
Oh, not so low. There's Dick Muggins, the blacksmith, Jack Slang, the horse doctor, little Ned that grinds the music box, and Tom Twist, who spins the pewter platter.
Please, my dear. Disappoint them for one night.
Oh, I shouldn't so much mind disappointing them, but I cannot abide to disappoint myself.
You shan't go.
I will, I tell you.
I say you shan't.
Well, we'll see which is quicker, you or I.
What?
Come on.
Tony! Get back here.
action.
Please take this to my room.
Ah, there's my darling daughter, Kate. Current styles have affected her too. After living for a year or two in London, she's as fond as French frippery as the rest of them. Oh, good day, my Kate. Dressed up as usual, I see. Goodness, what an abundance of silk, ribbons, gewgaws you are wearing, girl.
You know our agreement, sir. You allow me to dress the way I prefer during the day. Then in the evening, I put on my country dress to please you.
I know our agreement well, and I believe I shall have occasion to test your obedience this very evening.
I beg your pardon, sir? What do you mean?
Well, to be plain, Kate, I expect the young gentleman I've chosen for your husband down from London this very day. I have his father's letter right here. Sir Charles tells me that his son is on his way and that he also will be coming down later in the day.
Indeed. Oh, I wish I'd known before. Oh, dear me. How should I behave? Our meeting will be so formal and so like a thing of business. There'll be no room for friendship or affection.
Child, the choice rests with you. Now, Mr. Marlowe, whom I prefer, is the son of my old friend, Sir Charles Marlowe. The young gentleman is a scholar, and he is a man of many fine qualities.
Is he?
Very generous.
I believe I shall like him.
Young and brave,
I'm sure I shall like him.
and very handsome.
Oh, dear Papa, say no more. He's mine. I'll have him.
And to crown all, he is one of the most modest and reserved young fellows in all the world.
That word reserved hasn't done the rest of his accomplishments. A reserved lover, it is said, makes for a suspicious husband.
On the contrary, modesty seldom resides in a breast that is not enriched with nobler virtues. It was the very features in his character that first struck me.
You will have more striking features to catch me, I promise you. However, if he be so young, so handsome, and so everything as you have mentioned, I believe he will do still. I shall have him.
However, there is one obstacle. It's quite possible he might not have you.
Oh, dear Papa, why must you mortify me so? Well, if he refuses, instead of breaking my heart with his indifference, I'll break my mirror for its flattery, set my cap to a newer fashion, and look for a less difficult admirer.
Bravely resolved. In the meantime, I'll go get the servants ready, since they seldom see company. They need as much training as a company of recruits on first muster.
Heavens! This news of Papa's puts me all in a flutter. Young, handsome, these he puts last, but I put them first. Oh, sensible, good-natured, I like all that. But then sheepish and reserved, that's much against him. Yet, can't he be cured of his timidity by learning to be proud of his wife?
Yeah.
Yes. Can't he? Well, here I am, reforming the husband before I've won over the lover. I'm glad you're here, my dear Constance. Tell me, how do I look today? Does anything look out of place? Is it one of my well-looking days? Am I in phase today?
Perfectly, my dear. Yet, when I look again, oh, bless me! Surely nothing bad has happened to the canary birds or the goldfishes. Has your brother or the cat been meddling? Or perhaps the novel you're reading been too moving?
No, nothing like that. I've been threatened. I can scarce get it out. I've been threatened with a lover!
And his name?
Is Marlowe.
Indeed.
The son of Sir Charles Marlowe.
Ah, yes. The close friend of my admirer, Mr. Hastings. The two are never apart. But surely you met Mr. Marlowe before when we lived in London.
Never.
He's a very peculiar character, I assure you. Among virtuous women in polite my affections are fixed on another. If my dear Hastings will be patient, I'm determined to hold out as long as it takes.
My good brother holds out stoutly. I can almost love him for waiting so.
He's a good-natured creature at heart. I'm sure he'd wish to be married to anyone but himself. But there's my aunt's bell. It's time for our afternoon walk. Come. Courage is necessary, for our affairs are critical.
Would it were bedtime and all were well.
What is
way in the forest and are saying something about Master Hardcastle.
As sure as can be. One of them must be the gentleman that's down to court my sister. Do they seem to be Londoners?
They may be, though. They look something like Frenchmen.
Well, then bring them here, and I'll set them right in a twinkling. They may not be good enough company for you. So step aside and I'll be with you in the spacing of a letter. Father has been calling me an unprincipled slacker. Now, if I want, I could be revenged upon the old curmudgeon, but I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Soon I shall be worth 1,500 a year. Let him try and scare me out of that if he can.
What a tedious and uncomfortable day we have had. We were told Hardcastle was only 40 miles across the country, and here we have come more than 60.
And all, Marlowe, because of that persistent shyness of yours. You wouldn't let us ask for directions on the way.
I admit it. I am unwilling, Hastings, to be indebted to every stranger I meet. Besides, instead of directions, I often get nothing more than a rude answer.
Well, at present, we're not likely to receive any answer at all.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I hear you are inquiring for one Mr. Hardcastle. I say, do you know what part of the country you are in?
Not in the least, sir, but we'd be thankful for any information.
Do you know from where you came?
No, sir, but if you
Why, gentlemen! If you know neither where you are going, nor where you are, nor the road by which you came, the first thing I have to inform you is that you've lost your way.
We need no scoundrel to tell us that.
Gentlemen, may I be so bold as to ask where you came from?
That is not necessary towards directing us where we ought to go.
Well, question for question is fair, you know. Gentlemen, is this Hardcastle a cross-grained, old-fashioned, whimsical fellow with an awkward daughter and a pretty son?
we have not seen the man, but he has the family you mentioned.
The daughter, a round, rolling, talkative magpie? The son, a pretty, well-bred, agreeable youth that everybody is fond of.
Our information differs in this. The daughter is said to be well-bred and beautiful. The son, an awkward booby. Reared up and spoiled at his mother's apron string.
Well, gentlemen, all I can say is that I do not believe you will reach Mr. Hardcastle's this night.
How unfortunate.
It's a long, dark, boggy, dirty, dangerous way. Tell the gentleman the way to Mr. Hardcastle's. Mr. Hardcastle's of Quagmire Marsh. You understand me?
Master Hardcastle's? Oh, my masters, you've got it deadly to wrong. When you came to the bottom of the hill, you should have crossed down Squash Lane.
Crossed down Squash Lane.
And then gone straight forward to Four Roads.
Come to where four roads meet?
Aye, but you must be sure to only take one of them.
Come, sir, you jest with us.
Then, keeping to the right, you are to go sideways till you come upon Crackskull Common. There you are to look sharp for the track of the wheel till you come upon, Farmer Moraine's barn. Coming to Farmer Moraine's barn, you are to turn to the right, and then to the left, and then to the right about again, until you come upon the old mill.
Sounds, man. We could as soon travel to Timbuktu.
What's to be done, Marlowe?
This tavern promises a poor reception, but perhaps they can accommodate us.
Alas, master, I have but one spare bed in the whole house.
And to my knowledge, that's being taken up by 3 lodgers already. I've hit on it. Don't you think you could accommodate these gentlemen? By the fireside with 3 chairs and a bolster?
Sleeping by the fireside, and I detest your 3 chairs and a bolster.
Oh, you do you? Well, let me see. Could go a mile further to the Buck's Head. The old Buck's Head Inn on the hill, one of the best inns in the whole country.
Seems we have escaped sleeping by the fireside after all.
Sure thing. You're not saying that to your fathers, as an inn.
Mum, you fool! Let them find that out. You are to only keep going straight forward till you come upon the big old house by the roadside. Coming on the big old house by the roadside, you should see a pair of large horns over the door. That's the sign. Just drive up into the yard and call out loudly.
Sir, we are obliged to you. Our drivers can't miss the way?
No. I must warn you, though, the landlord is rich and planning to retire, so you don't want to be thought of as a gentleman. And once in your presence, well, he'll want to keep you company. And agads, if you let him, he'll talk your ear off.
He's a troublesome old fool, to be sure, but he keeps as good wine and beds as any in the country.
Well, if he supplies us with these, we shall have need of nothing more. We turn to the right, did you say?
No, straight forward. Here, I'll just come myself and show you part of the way. Mom.
Well, there goes a mischievous rascal for sure, God love him.
Now, I want you to show you can serve our guests properly, even if you are not used to company.
Aye.
Aye.
When company comes, you are not to pop out and stare at them and then run off again like frightened rabbits.
No.
No?
You, Beth, who I brought in from tending the cows, are to stand by the side table. Oh, good. And you, Diggory, who I brought in from the field, are to place yourself behind my chair. Oh. And Hannah, you must not stand so with your hands in your pockets. Take your hands from your pockets. Look, for heaven's sake, see how Diggory holds his hand? They are just a little too stiff indeed, but that's no great matter.
Aye. See how I hold them? I learned to hold my hands this way when I was upon drill with the militia. So being upon drill,
You are much too talkative, Diggory. You must pay attention to our guests. Now, you must hear us talk and not think of talking. And you must see us drink and not think of drinking. And you must watch us eat and not think of eating.
Egad, your worship, that's not possible. Whenever Diggory sees eating going on, he's always wishing for a mouthful himself.
Why, man? Is not a bellyful in the kitchen as good as a bellyful in the parlor? Stay your hunger with that thought.
Egads, I thank your worship, and we'll have a slice of cold beef in the pantry.
Diggory, you are too talkative. Now, suppose I say a good thing or tell a good story at table. You must not all burst out laughing as if you were part of the company.
Then your worship must not tell the story of old Grouse in the gun room. I can't help laughing at that. Well, I've laughed at that for these 20 years.
Oh! Well, the story is a good one. Diggory is right. You may all laugh at that one. Remember, be attentive. Suppose one of the companies should call for a glass of wine. How will you behave? A glass of wine, if you please. Wine? What, will nobody move?
But your worship, surely you're not addressing me.
I was told not to leave my post.
I'm sure it's no place of mine.
Nor mine either.
Well, it can be mine.
Oh, you dumb skulls. While you were quarreling, the guests will starve. Now, I see I must begin all over again. Why don't I hear a carriage? Out of the yard! To your post, you blockheads! I'll go give my old friend's son a hearty reception at the gate.
By the 11th, my post has gone quite out of my head.
I know my place is to be everywhere.
Where the devil is mine?
Well, your place is nowhere at all, so go about your business.
Oh! Well, welcome, gentlemen. Well, welcome. This way.
After the hardships of the day, welcome, Charles, to the comforts of a clean home and a good fire. Upon my word, a very good-looking house. Antique but creditable.
The usual fate of a large mansion. Having first ruined the master by housekeeping and upkeep, it at last comes to generate income as an inn.
Ah, yes, as you say, we travellers will pay for these fineries. I've often seen a good sideboard or a marble chimney piece, while not actually listed in the bill, increase prices considerably.
Travelers, George, must pay in all places. The only difference is that in good inns you pay dearly for luxuries, while in bad inns you are fleeced and starved.
Ah, yes, you are well acquainted with such accommodations, having travelled so widely. In truth, though, I am surprised to see that with your good sense and education that you've never developed any confidence in yourself.
Tell me, where could I have learned such confidence? My life has been mostly spent in a college or an inn, separated from that lovely part of creation that chiefly teach men confidence. I don't know that I was ever truly acquainted with a single modest woman, except my mother. No, it is only among females of the lower classes that I feel at ease.
Among them you are brazen enough.
Oh, they are saucy with us, you know.
But in the company of women of reputation, I never saw such an idiot, such a trembler. You look as all you want is a chance to steal out of the room.
Why, man, that's because I do want to steal out of the room. Indeed, I have often resolved to break the ice and rattle away with the best of them. But I don't know how. A single glance from a pair of fine eyes totally ends my resolve. A bold fellow may imitate modesty, but I'll be hanged if a modest man can ever imitate impudence.
Well, if you can only say half of the fine things to the ladies that I've heard you lavish upon the barmaid of an inn.
Oh, George, I can't say fine things to them. I freeze. It petrify me. Some men talk of comets or fiery mountains as marvels. But to me, a modest woman, dressed out in all her finery, is the most tremendous object in all of creation.
At this rate, man, how can you ever expect to marry?
Never. Unless, as among kings and princes, my bride were to be courted by proxy. Indeed, if like an Eastern bridegroom, one were to be introduced to a wife that he'd never saw before, then it might be endured. But to go through all the terrors of a formal courtship, along with the agony of meeting aunts, grandmothers, and cousins, and then at last to blurt out the question, "Madam, will you marry me?" No, it is beyond me. I cannot endure it, I assure you.
Oh, I pity you, old chap. But how do you intend on behaving to the lady that you've come to visit at your father's request?
The same way I behave to all other ladies. Bow very low. Answer yes or no to all of her demands. But for the rest, I don't think I shall venture to look in her face until I see my father again.
I'm surprised that one who is so warm a friend can be so cool a lover.
To be explicit, my dear Hastings, my chief reason for coming was to further your happiness, not my own. Miss Neville loves you. Her family don't know you, but, as my friend, you are sure of a reception. After that, you are on your own.
Oh, my dear Marlowe. But I'll suppress the emotion. If all I wanted were her fortune, you would be the last man in the world I would ask for help. But Miss Neville's person is all I ask for, and that is mine already, both by her deceased father's consent and her own inclination.
Oh, happy man. You have the talent and art to captivate any woman. I'm doomed to only adore them and yet converse with women below my station. My awkward manner will never allow me to woo above a barmaid or a shop girl.
Look lively, Diggory!
Here comes this fellow to interrupt us.
Oh, gentlemen, once more you are heartily welcome. Which is Mr. Marlowe?
He's got our names from the servants already. Here, sir.
Sir, you are heartily welcome. It is not my way, you see, to receive my friends with my back to the fire. I like to give them a hearty reception in the old style at my gate. I like to see their horses and trunks taken care of.
We approve of your hospitality, sir. George, I've been thinking. We should change our traveling clothes in the morning. They've grown deplorably dusty, and I'm ashamed of mine.
I beg, Mr. Marlowe, you shall use no ceremony in this
I
house.
fancy, Charles, you're right. The first blow is half the battle. I intend on opening the campaign with white and gold.
Gentlemen, there's no need to worry about appearances in this house. This is Liberty Hall, gentlemen, and you may wear what you please here.
And yet, George, if we open the campaign too fiercely at first, we may want for ammunition before it is over. No, I think it best we reserve our finest clothes to secure a retreat.
Oh, you're talking of a retreat, Mr. Marlowe. Puts me in mind of the Duke of Marlborough when he went to besiege Denang. He first summoned the garrison.
Do you think the gold waistcoat will look well with the plain brown?
I think not. Yellow and brown mix, but very poorly.
I say, he first summoned the garrison, which consisted of about 5,000 men.
They always like finery.
I say, as I was telling you, he summoned the garrison, which mine consisted of about 5,000 men.
And do you go on, sir?
Well, thank you. Consisted of about 5,000 men, well appointed with arms, ammunition, and other implements of war. Says the Duke of Marlborough to George Brooks, that stood next to him. You must have heard of George Brooks. I don't take that garrison without spilling a drop of blood. I'm going to pawn my dukedom. So he takes upon
What's my good friend if you gave us a glass of punch in the meantime? It would help us carry on the siege with vigor.
Punch, sir? Well, what kind of modesty is this? You seem such a brash young man. Oh,
Yes, sir, punch. A glass of warm punch after our travels will be pleasant. This is Liberty Hall, you know.
here's your cup, sir.
So this fellow in his Liberty Hall will only let us have just what he pleases.
I hope you find it to your enjoyment. I have prepared it with my own hands. I believe you will agree the ingredients is tolerable. Yeah, would you mind pledging me, sir? Here, Mr. Marlowe, here is to our better acquaintance.
A very impudent fellow, this, but he's a character, and I'll humor him a little. Sir, my service to you.
I see this fellow wants to give us his company, but forgets that he is an innkeeper while trying to be a gentleman.
Sir, from the excellence of your cup, it seems that you see a good deal of business in this part of the country. Warm work now and then, even heated during elections, I dare say.
Oh, sir, I no longer bother my head over elections since our betters have hit upon the expediency of electing each other.
So you have no interest in politics then?
Not in the least. There was a time when, like other people, I fretted myself about the mistakes of government. But finding myself every day grow more angry and the government grow no better, I left it to mend itself. Since then, I no longer trouble my head about elections. Sir, my service to you.
So, with eating above stairs and drinking below, with receiving your friends within and amusing them without, you lead a pleasant, bustling life.
Oh, I do stir about quite a bit, that's true. Half the problems of the parish are resolved right here in this very parlor.
And you have an argument in your cup, old man, finer than any in Westminster Hall.
Ah, young man, that, and I do offer a little philosophy from time to time.
Well, this is the first time I ever heard of an innkeeper's philosophy.
So then, like an experienced general, you attack them on every side. If you find their reason manageable, you attack it with your philosophy. If you find that they have no reason, you attack them with this. Oh, well, here's to your health, my philosopher.
Thank you very much. Your words puts me in mind of Prince Eugene when he went to fight the Turks at the Battle of Belgrade. You shall hear
Instead of the Battle of Belgrade, I believe it's almost time for supper. What is your philosophy got in the house for supper?
Supper, sir? Was it ever a request made to a man in his own house?
Yes, sir. Supper, sir. I begin to feel an appetite. I shall make devil's work in the pantry tonight, I promise you.
Such a brazen dog my eyes never beheld. Well, sir, really, as for supper, I can't tell. My Dorothy and the cook settle these things between them. I leave these things entirely to them.
You do you?
Entirely, In fact, I believe they are in consultation on what's for supper at this very moment in the kitchen.
Then I ask if they allow me as part of their privy council. It's a way I have when I travel. I always choose my own supper. Let the cook be called. No offense, sir, I hope.
No, none taken, none at all. Yet, I'm afraid if we send for Bridget, the cook, she might scold us all out of the house.
Well, let's see the menu for tonight then. I ask it as a favor. I always match my appetite to the bill of fare.
He's very right, sir, and it's my way, too.
Well, gentlemen, you do have a right to command here. Oh, here, Beth, bring us the bill of fare for tonight's supper. I believe it's drawn out. Your words, Mr. Hastings, puts me in mind of my uncle, Colonel Waller. It was a saying of his that no man was certain of his supper till he had eaten it.
Zounds. His uncle, a colonel? Shall soon hear of his mother being a duchess. Oh, here's your maid back with the bill of fare.
Oh, what have we here? Oh, let's see. For the first course, for the second course, for the dessert. The devil, sir! Do you think we have brought down a whole regiment of the entire household of Windsor to eat up such a supper? But 2 or 3 little things, clean and comfortable, will do.
Well, let's hear it.
For the first course, at the top, a pig and prune sauce.
Damn your pig, I
And
say.
damn your prune sauce, say I.
Yet, gentlemen, to men that are hungry, pig and prune sauce is very good eating.
At the bottom, a calf's tongue and brains.
Oh, may your brains be knocked out, sir. I do not like them.
Or you may slap them on a plate by themselves. I do.
Impotence is unbearable. Oh, gentlemen, you have a right to change whatever you please. Is there anything else you'd like to change?
Item a pork pie, boiled rabbit and sausages, a Florentine, a shaking pudding, and a dish of
Taffety.
taffy cream.
Confound your fancy dishes, I say. I shall be as much at a loss in this house as I would be at a dinner for the French ambassador, trying to figure out which fork to use. I'm for plain eating.
Well, gentlemen, since I have nothing that you like, if there is anything you have a particular appetite for,
Why, sir, your bill of fare is so exquisite that any one thing's as good as any other. Send us what you like. So much for supper. And now I must see that our beds are aired and properly taken care of.
oh, sir, you shall leave that to me. You shall not stir a step.
Leave that to you? I protest, sir. I always look to these things myself.
I insist, sir. You must let your mind rest easy on that point.
You see, I'm resolved on it. A very troublesome fellow, this, as I have ever met with.
Well, I'm resolved to at least accompany you. This might be modern modesty, but I've never seen anything look so much like old-fashioned impudence. Sir, this way, please.
You know, this fellow's chit-chat begins to grow tiresome. He is trying hard to please us, though. Oh, what do I see? Miss Neville, by all that's
My
happening!
dear Hastings, what unexpected good fortune! Who do I thank for this happy meeting?
Well, I should ask the same question, since I never hoped to meet my dearest Constance at an inn.
An inn? You're mistaken. My aunt, my guardian, lives here. Why would you think this house is an inn?
Well, my friend Mr. Marlowe and I were told it was an inn, I assure you. A young man we accidentally met at an alehouse nearby directed us here.
It must be one of my cousin Tony's tricks. You've heard me talk of him often.
Is this the cousin your aunt wants you to marry? My rival that causes me so much distress.
You have nothing to fear of him, I assure you. You would adore him if you knew how heartily he despises me. My aunt knows it too, and so she's begun to court me for him. She actually begins to believe that she has won my heart for him.
You clever little actress. Constance, I have used my friend's visit here to gain admittance into the family. The horses that carried us down are tired now, but will soon be well rested. And if my dearest girl will trust in her faithful Hastings, we shall soon set off to France, where we can be married.
Well, my dear Hastings, I am ready to marry you, but am reluctant to leave my little fortune behind. It consists chiefly of jewels. I have begun to persuade my aunt to let me wear them. I think I am very near succeeding. The instant they are in my hands, you shall find me ready to make them and myself yours.
Forget the gems. You are all I desire. In the meantime, Mr. Marlowe must not realize his mistake. If he does, he'll be so mortified that he would leave the house at once before we had a chance to slip away.
But how do we keep him from finding out? I know. Miss Hardcastle has just returned from her walk. We shall continue to deceive him. Listen.
Oh, the attentions of these good people torment me beyond bearing. My host seems to think it ill manners to leave me alone, and so he and his old-fashioned wife stick to me like birds. They even talk of coming to supper with us. And then I suppose we are to run the gauntlet through all the rest of the family. Oh, what have we here?
Oh, Charles! You'll never guess. The most fortunate occurrence. Who do you think has just arrived?
I cannot say.
Our mistresses, Miss Hardcastle and Miss Neville. Allow me to introduce you to Miss Constance Neville.
Mr. Marlowe.
Miss Neville.
Up to down in the neighborhood, they stopped here on their way for fresh horses. Wasn't it lucky? Miss Hardcastle just stepped out. We'll be back in a moment.
After the horrors of the day and the audacity of the innkeeper, here comes one thing more to complete my embarrassment.
Well, wasn't it the most fortunate thing in the world?
Oh, yes. Very fortunate. A most joyful encounter. But our clothes, George, we are hardly in a presentable condition. They are dusty, you know. What if we should put off the meeting of Miss Hardcastle until tomorrow? Tomorrow at her own house. It will be every bit as convenient and rather more respectful. Let it be tomorrow.
Oh, no, sir. Your delay would displease her. The disorder of your garments only shows your eagerness to meet her. Miss Hardcastle knows you are in the house and is looking forward to meeting you.
Oh, how the devil shall I survive it? Hastings, you must not go. You must help me, you know. I shall be confoundedly ridiculous.
Pshaw, man. After the first plunge, it's all smooth sailing.
Yes, hang it. I'll take courage.
After all, she is but a woman, you know.
Yes, and of all women, the one I most dread to meet.
Miss Hardcastle. This is Mr. Marlowe. I'm proud to bring two people of such merit together. You need only to know one another, to respect each other.
Now for meeting my modest gentleman with a demure face and his own reserved manner. I'm glad of your safe arrival, sir. I'm told you had some accidents on the way.
Only a few, madam. Yes, we had some. Yes, madam, a good many accidents. But I should be sorry, madam. Or rather, glad of any accidents that reached such an agreeable conclusion.
You never spoke so well in your whole life.
I'm afraid, sir, you flatter us. You who have seen so much of the world and met its finest company could find little of interest in this obscure corner of the country.
Indeed, madam, I have traveled the world, but have kept very little company. I have been but an observer upon life, while others were enjoying it.
Cicero never spoke better. Once more, and the battle is yours.
Stand by me then, and if I run out of conversation, throw in a word or two to set me up again.
As a keen observer of life, I'm sure there's been many follies and amusements of country folk that you disapprove. There's been more for you to criticize than to approve.
Pardon me, madam, but I am always willing to enjoy the company of others. The follies of most people causes mirth rather than disapproval.
Bravo, bravo. Never spoke so well in your whole life. Well, Miss Hardcastle, I see that you and Mr. Marlowe here are getting along splendidly, but I believe our being here will be an intrusion.
Oh, not in the least, Mr. Hastings. We like your company in all things. Sounds, George. Surely you won't go.
Our presence will but spoil conversation, so we'll retire to the next room. You don't consider, ma'am, that we are to manage a little tete-a-tete of our own?
Oh, but I'm sure you've not been merely an observer, sir, with the ladies. I presume they've been given some of your attention.
Pardon me, madam, but I as yet have only studied to deserve them.
And And that, some say, is the worst way to win a lady's heart.
Yes, perhaps so, madam, but I only love to converse with the more grave and sensible. But I'm afraid I grow tiresome.
Not in the least, sir. There is something, sir. I love grave conversation myself. I enjoy it so. I find it strange that some men engage in nothing but airy chit-chat, where nothing of substance reaches the heart.
It's a disease of the mind, madam. With a variety of tastes, there are some who wanting a relish.
I understand you, sir. There are some who, lacking an appreciation of finer pleasures, pretend to despise what they are incapable of enjoying.
Might mean, madam, but infinitely better expressed. And I can't help but observing.
Who could ever think this awkward fellow impudent? You were going to observe, sir.
Oh, yes, madam. I was observing that. I protest, madam. I forget what I was going to observe.
I vow, and so do I. You were observing, sir, that in this age of hypocrisy, something about hypocrisy.
Yes, madam. In this age of hypocrisy, there are few who do not, upon a strict inquiry,
I understand you perfectly, sir.
Oh, cat, and that's more than I do myself.
You mean that in this hypocritical age, there are few who do not condemn in public what they practice in private. They want others to consider them virtuous, when in reality they merely praise virtue rather than practice it.
Indeed, madam, but those with most praise in their mouths have least of it in their hearts. I'm sure I tire you, madam.
Not in the least, sir. There is something so agreeable and spirited in your conversation. Please continue.
Yes, thank you, madam. There are occasions when a total lack of courage destroys all the puts us upon a...
I agree with you entirely, sir. A lack of confidence can rob one of courage and give the impression of ignorance when we want most to excel. Please, go on.
Yes, madam, to further the thought, but madam, I think I hear Miss Neville calling you from the other room.
I believe you're wrong, sir. I do not hear her. Besides, I would rather continue our pleasant conversation.
Yes, madam, as I was saying, no, there, I'm sure I hear her. It would be rude not to join her. Will not we not go into her?
Well then, go on, and I'll join you shortly.
This dialogue has done me in.
Was there ever such a shy and awkward suitor? He could scarcely get a word out, let alone a sentence. I don't think he looked me in the face once during our conversation. Yet, despite his bashfulness, he might have something to offer. He has good sense, but then it is so buried in his fears. I believe it fatigues one more than ignorance. Yet, if I can teach him a little confidence, I might reap the rewards of it in the end. We shall see.
What do you follow me for, Cousin Con? I wonder you're not ashamed to be so forward.
I hope, cousin, one may speak to one's own relations.
Aye, but I know what kind of relation you want to make me, and it won't do, Cousin Con. I tell you, it won't do. Keep your distance. I want no near relationship.
Ah, wow, Mr. Hastings. You are very entertaining. There is There's nothing in the world I love to talk of so much as London and the fashions, though I was never there myself.
Never there. You amaze me. From your air and manner, I thought you were growing up in the heart of the city.
Well, we country persons have no manners at all, but I am in love with the idea of London, and that serves to raise me above some of our country customs. But who can have a true sense of fashion, never having seen the places where the nobility resides? I must enjoy London and the fashion secondhand through the magazines. What do you think of this hair, Mr. Hastings?
Oh, upon my word, madam, extremely elegant. Your hairdresser is French, no doubt.
French? No, I protest. I dressed it myself from a print I saw in the ladies' fashion book last year.
Indeed. Such a head would draw every eye at the theater or a city ball.
I vow, Mr. Hastings, there is no such thing to be seen as a plain woman, and so one must dress a little particular or run the risk of going unnoticed. One does not want to disappear in the crowd.
Well, that can never be true in your case, madam, in any fashion.
And yet what does my dressing matter when I have such a piece of antiquity by my side as Mr. Hardcastle? Oh, I cannot convince him to update his appearance by so much as a button. I've often told him to throw off that great silver wig of his. Do you know what his answer was? With his usual Gothic attempt at humor, he said that I only wanted him to throw off his wig to fashion it into a piece for my own wearing. Oh.
Well, at your age, madam, you may wear what you please.
Tell me, Mr. Hastings, what do you think is the most fashionable age about town?
Well, some time ago, 40 was all the mode, but I'm told some of the women intend to bring up 50 for the ensuing winter.
Seriously, then I shall be too young for the fashion.
Well, no woman begins now to wear jewels till she's past 40. For instance, that young girl there in the polite circle would be considered a mere child, as a mere soul of samples.
And yet my niece thinks herself as much of a woman and is as fond of jewels as the oldest of us all.
Your niece, is she? And that young gentleman there, a brother of yours, I presume?
My son. Oh, they are engaged to each other. Observe their little sports. They fall in and out of affection with each other 10 times a day, as though they were man and wife already. Come, Tony, my child, what soft things are you murmuring to Cousin Constance this evening?
I have been saying no soft things. I have been telling her that she should stop following me about so. Yes, I got no place in the house left to myself but the stable.
Never mind, my dear. He tells a different story behind your back.
There's something generous in my cousin's manner. He falls out before faces to be forgiven in private.
It's not true. That's a damn confounded lie.
Ah, he's a sly one. Tell me, Mr. Hastings, don't you think they are alike about the mouth? The Blenkinsop mouth to a T. Oh, they're of a complimentary height as well. Back to back, my pretty, so Mr. Hastings may see you. Come, Tony.
You better not make me, I tell you.
See?
Oh!
Oh, monster, for shame. Tony, you are a man, behave like one.
If I'm a man, let me have my fortune. Again, I'll not be made a fool of no longer.
Is this the thanks I am to receive for the pains I have taken in your education? I that rocked you in your cradle and fed that pretty mouth with a spoon. Did I not embroider that waistcoat to make you more genteel? Did I not prescribe and create restorative medicinals for you every day?
Again, Mama, you've been dosing me with this and that ever since the day I was born. I have gone through every potion in the complete Housewife's Book of Remedies 10 times over again. And now, you have thoughts of forcing me through Quincy's medicinal simples next spring? I'll tell you, I'll not be made a fool of no longer.
Wasn't it all for your good, Viper? Wasn't it all for your good?
I wish you'd left me and my good alone. Sniping at me this way when I'm in spirits. If I'm to have any good, let it come of itself. If you keep trying to ding it into me, you keep dinging it into me so.
That's false. I'm never to see you when you're in spirits. No, Tony, that's when you go to the alehouse or the kennel. I am never to be delighted with your wild, agreeable moods.
Again, Mama, your moods are wilder than mine.
Was there ever the like? But I see that he wants to break my heart. I see that he does.
Well, madam, if you would permit me to lecture the young man a little, perhaps I can persuade him to his duty.
Very well, Mr. Hastings, I shall let you try. Come, Constance, my love. You see, Mr. Hastings, the wretchedness of my situation. Was ever poor woman so plagued with a dear, sweet, pretty, provoking, undutiful boy?
There once was a man riding by saying doodly-dee. Don't mind her. Let her cry. It's the comfort in her heart. I once saw her and sister cry over a book for over an hour. And they said they liked the book better the more it made them cry.
So you're no friend to the ladies, are you, my young friend?
That's as I find them.
Not to her of your mother's choosing, I dare say. She seems to be a pretty well-tempered girl.
Aye. That's because you don't know her as well as I. Again, I know everything about her. And there isn't a more bitter, cantankerous toad in all of Christendom.
Hardly the words of an admirer. Sounds hopeful.
I have seen her since the height of that. And she has more tricks than a hare in a thicket or a colt on the first day's breaking.
Well, to me, she appears sensible and silent.
Aye, before company. But when she's with her playmate, she's as loud as a hog in the gate.
There is a meek modesty about her that charms me.
Well, but curb her ever so little, man. She kicks up and you're flung in a ditch.
Well, you must allow her a little beauty.
Nonsense.
You must allow her some beauty.
Nonsense. She's all a made-up thing, man. Now, if we look at that bouncer of these parts, oh, then we might talk of beauty. With 2 eyes as black as coal and cheeks as broad and red as a pulpit cushion. Oh, she'd make 2 of my cousin.
Well, what say you to a friend that would take this bitter bargain off your hands?
I wish, if only.
Well, would you thank him that would take Miss Neville and leave you to your happiness and your dear Betsy?
Aye, but where is there such a friend? For who would marry her?
I am he. If you would assist me, I will carry her off to France, and you will never hear any more of her.
Assist you? Egads, I will! To the last drop of my blood! I'll clap a pair of horses to your chase that shall trundle you off in a twinkling. And maybe, get you some of her fortune beside, and jewels you could little dream of.
Well, my dear friend, this sounds like a plan.
Come along then, and you shall see more of my spirit before you have done with me. We are the boys that fear no noise, for the thundering cannons roar.
What was my old friend Sir Charles thinking when he recommended his son as the most modest young man in town? To me, he appears the most impudent piece of brass that ever spoke. Oh, he has turned me out of my own chair by the fireside. He took his boots off in the parlor and then asked me to see that they were polished. Oh, I just wonder what my Kate thinks of such rudeness. It must surely shock her. Oh, well, Kate, I see that you've changed your dress as I told you, and yet I'm afraid there was no great occasion.
I enjoy pleasing you so much, sir, that I obey your commands without ever debating their propriety.
And yet I sometimes give you some cause, particularly when I was recommending my modest gentleman to you today.
You told me to expect something extraordinary, and you were certainly right.
I was never so surprised in my life. He has astounded me behind my senses.
I've never seen anything like it, and from a man of the world, too.
He must have learned his attitude from abroad. What a fool was I to think that a young man could learn modesty by travel.
It seemed all natural to him.
But no doubt increased by bad company and a French dancing master.
Papa, you must be mistaken. A French dancing master could never talk in that timid look, that awkward manner, that timid look.
Oh, ordinary child.
Mr. Marlowe's. His timidity struck me at first sight.
Then your first sight deceived you, for I think him one of the most brazen first sights that ever astounded my behavior.
Surely, sir, you jest. I've never met anyone so shy and tongue-tied in my life.
Can you be serious? I never met such a bouncing, swaggering puppy since I was born.
How is that possible? He met me with a respectful bow, a stammering voice, and a look fixed on the ground.
He met me with a loud voice, a lordly air, and a familiarity that made my blood freeze.
He met me with respect, lamented the world's rudeness and lack of manners, admired the prudence of girls who never laugh, wore me out with apologies for being tiresome, and then left the room with a bow. And madam, I would not for the world detain you.
He spoke to me as if he knew me all his life, asked 20 questions but never waited for an answer, interrupted my best stories with silly remarks, and when I was recounting my memories of Duke of Marlborough and Prince Eugene, he asked me to fetch him a cup of punch. Yes, Kate, he asked your father to bring him punch.
One of us must certainly be mistaken.
If he is what he has shown himself to be, I'm determined he shall never have my consent for your hand.
And if he be the sullen, dull, awkward thing I take him for, he shall never have mine.
Agreed. And it is one thing we have agreed on, to reject him.
Yes. But let's not be too hasty. This matter invites further investigation. If you should find him less impudent, and I more presuming, if you should find him more respectful, and I more charming, I don't know. The fellow has some good qualities. We certainly don't meet many such fellows at a country horse race.
If we should find him so, but that's impossible. His first impression has made up my mind. I'm never deceived.
Yet, there may be many good qualities hiding behind that first impression.
Now, why, when a girl finds a fellow is outside to her taste, she begins to imagine that his inside is furnished with sterling qualities. A smooth face stands for good sense, and a handsome figure implies noble virtues.
I hope, sir, a conversation that began with a compliment to my good reason won't end with a sneer of my common sense.
Oh, pardon me, Kate. I suppose if young Mr. Brazen can somehow balance out his contradictions, he might please us both, perhaps.
Since one of us must certainly be mistaken, shall we go see what more we can learn about the gentleman?
All right. But depend on it, I am always right.
And depend on it, I'm never wrong.
I got it! Here they are. Cousin Con's necklaces, bobs, and all. Mother shan't cheat the poor souls out of their fortune after all. Ho, who goes there?
Oh, my dear friend, our horses will soon be well rested and we shall set off.
And here's a parting gift for you. Your sweetheart's jewels. Keep them and hang those, I say, who would rob you of them.
But how did you get them from your mother?
Ask me no questions and I'll tell no lies. If I didn't have a key to every drawer in Mother's bureau, how could I go down to the alehouse so often? An honest man may rob himself of his own at any time.
True, but Miss Neville is trying to wheedle them from her aunt this very instant. If she succeeds, it would be the best way to obtain them.
Well, keep them until you see how things turn out. But I already know how they will turn out. Mother would soon rather part with the only sound tooth in her head.
I dread a resentment when she finds them gone, though.
Oh, never you mind her resentment. Leave me to manage that. I don't mind her anger the bounce of a cracker. Zounds, here she comes. So be off, old chap. Prance! Prance! Prance!
Indeed, Constance, you amaze me. Such a girl as you wanting jewels. There'll be time enough for jewels 20 years from now when your beauty begins to fade and needs a boost.
But madam, what will repair beauty at 40 will certainly improve it at 20.
Your beauty, my dear, needs no improvement. That natural blush is worth 1,000 gems. Besides, child, I believe that jewels are quite out of fashion at present.
But who knows, madam? Perhaps somebody might like me better with all my finery about me.
Consult your glass, my dear, and then see if, with such a pair of eyes, you want for any better sparklers. What do you think, Tony, my dear? Does your cousin Con need any jewels in your eyes to set off her beauty?
Don't ask me.
Dear aunt, if you knew how happy it would make me.
They are an unwieldy, weighty rope of rocks. They would make you look like the court of King Solomon at a puppet show. Besides, I'm not sure where they are at present. They might be missing for all I know.
That's it. That's it. Tell her they're lost. It's the only way to quiet her. Tell her they're lost and call me to bear witness.
You know I'm only keeping them for you. So if I tell her they're gone, you'll back me up, will you?
Never doubt it. Again, I'll say I saw them taken out with my own eyes.
I desire them before a day, madam, just to wear for a short while, and then you may lock them up again.
Frankly, my dear Constance, if I could find them, you should have them. But they are missing, lost for all I know.
I'll not believe it. This is a shallow pretense to keep them from me. I know how valuable they are to be kept so carelessly, especially when you are to answer for their loss.
Don't be alarmed, Constance. If they don't turn up, I shall replace them. But my son knows they are missing and not to be found.
That I can bear witness to. They are missing and not to be found. I'll take a note on it.
You must resign yourself to their loss, my dear. For though we lose our fortune, we should not lose our patience. See how calm I am?
Aye, people are generally calm at the misfortune of others.
Now I marvel that a girl of your good sense should waste a thought upon such trumpery. We shall soon find them, and in the meantime you will make use of my garnets until we find your jewels.
I detest garnets.
Oh, the most becoming thing to set off a clear complexion. You have often seen how well they look upon me. You shall have them.
I dislike them more than anything. Was anything ever so exasperating? To mislay my jewels and then to force me to wear her worthless trinkets?
Don't be a fool. If she gives you the garnets, take what you can get. Gads, the jewels are your own already. I've stolen them out of her bureau, and she doesn't know it yet. Fly to your spark. He'll tell you more of the matter.
My dear cousin!
She's missed them already. Zounds, get out of here. My, how she fidgets and spits about like Catherine's wheel of fireworks exploding in all directions at once.
Confusion! Thieves! Robbers! We are cheated, plundered, undone!
What's the matter, Mama? What's the matter? What's the matter? I hope nothing bad has happened to any of the family.
We've been robbed. My bureau has been broken open and her jewels taken away. I'm undone!
Oh. By the laws, I never saw better acting in my life. Gads, Mama, I thought she was ruined in earnest.
My boy, I am ruined in earnest. My bureau has been broken open and her jewels taken out.
Stick to that. Stick to that. You can call me to bear witness, you know. Call me to bear witness.
Tony, by all that's precious. Her jewels are gone and I am ruined forever.
Sure, I know they're gone. I'm to say so.
Oh, was there ever such a blockhead? Can you not tell the difference between a joke and the truth? I am not playing, you booby.
Gads, Mama, you make me laugh. I know who took them well enough.
Was there ever such a cross-grained idiot? Oh, was it... Can you bear witness that you are no better than a fool? Oh, was ever this poor woman so beset with thieves on one side and fools on the other?
I can bear witness to that.
Bear witness one more time and I will throw you from the house. Oh, my poor niece. What is to become of her? Oh, how dare you laugh, you unfeeling brute, as though you enjoyed your mother's distress.
I can bear witness to that.
Oh, do you abuse your mother? I'll teach you to vex your mother, I will.
Gads, Mama, I can bear witness to that.
Oh,